Inside my head, or inside my brain, is that part of me which keeps me sane, which helps discern between right and wrong, and other things I'm gonna talk about in this song. It's time for the people to know, so now I tell them what goes on in my cerebrum and my cerebellum, the thought process that helps me get dressed, get up, and go to school, sit down.
Welcome back to the Mental Weight Room, where we work on building mental strength just like you work on building physical strength. I'm your host and certified mental performance coach, Antoinette Datoc, and today we're diving into something that can make or break an athlete's mindset: criticism. Criticism is something every athlete faces, whether it's from a coach, a teammate, or even yourself. But the difference between those who grow and those who get discouraged often comes down to how they handle that criticism. Today, we'll talk about how you can use feedback to fuel growth rather than letting it drag you down. We'll break it into a few key points: constructive versus destructive feedback, building emotional resilience, turning negative feedback into actionable steps, and creating a personal feedback loop for continuous improvement. First, let's define the two types of feedback you're likely to encounter. Constructive criticism is helpful. It's specific, actionable, and aimed at improvement. Think of it as a coach telling you, your stance in the starting blocks is too wide. Try narrowing your feet to improve your explosiveness. Destructive feedback, on the other hand, is vague, overly harsh, and often focuses on the person rather than the action. It might sound like, "Why are you doing that? What's wrong with you? You're terrible at this. You'll never get better." When you're receiving feedback, it's important to recognize the difference. Constructive criticism helps you grow. It's information you can use. Destructive feedback, on the other hand, is more about tearing you down than lifting you up. The key is to filter out that negative noise and focus on the feedback that helps you get better. Now let's talk about how to handle constructive feedback without letting your emotions get in the way. It's normal to feel defensive, frustrated, or even upset when you're criticized, especially if it's about something you've worked really hard on. Building emotional resilience means you can take that initial reaction and turn it into a positive one. Instead of feeling discouraged or defensive, take a moment to process the feedback. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to improve? This shift in perspective turns criticism into an opportunity for growth rather than a threat to your confidence. Once you've managed your emotions and processed the feedback, the next step is to turn it into actionable steps for improvement. Feedback is only valuable if it leads to positive change. So what's the next move? Let's say your coach tells you that your sprint times have plateaued and that your form is holding you back. Instead of hearing, "You're not improving," and getting discouraged, ask for specifics. What can I do to improve my form? Should I focus more on my arm swing or my stride length? Once you've identified the changes you need to make, create a plan. Break down the feedback into small, manageable actions. If the feedback was about your footwork, focus on improving one small detail at a time and track your progress. One of the most powerful ways to fuel your growth is by creating a personal feedback loop. This means you regularly check in with yourself and others about your progress. After every practice, game, or performance, ask yourself, what went well? What didn't? How can I improve for next time? And don't be afraid to ask for feedback from multiple sources, multiple trusted sources, coaches, teammates. Even your own observations can help you identify areas for improvement. Over time, this feedback loop will become a habit. You'll be constantly learning, evolving, and getting better. Instead of feeling discouraged by criticism, you'll view it as a tool for growth. Now let's take a look at some athletes who've thrived despite receiving harsh criticism. These athletes turned negative feedback into fuel for success. Michael Phelps is a perfect example. Early in his career, Phelps faced criticism from his coach, Bob Bowman, about his mental focus. After a poor performance in the 2003 World Championships, instead of sulking, Phelps used this feedback to reshape his approach to training and mental focus. The result? 23 Olympic gold medals. And then there's Simone Biles. After facing criticism from fans and critics for pulling out of events at the Tokyo Olympics due to mental health struggles, Simone Biles responded with grace and strength. Rather than letting the criticism overwhelm her, she turned the feedback into a conversation about mental health and the pressures athletes face. Biles showed the world that being mentally strong is just as important as physical strength, and her courage has inspired a generation of athletes. So to wrap things up, the next time you face criticism, remember, it's all about perspective. Separate the constructive from the destructive. Build emotional resilience, turn feedback into actionable steps, and create a personal feedback loop to keep growing. And remember, even the greatest athletes face criticism. What sets them apart is how they handle it and how they use it to fuel their growth. Thanks for stepping into the mental weight room with me today. I hope this training session helps you turn feedback into a powerful tool for success. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to share it with your teammates, leave us a review or tap 5 stars, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a mental workout. This is Coach Antoinette signing off, and until next time, keep building that mental toughness and keep pushing your limits.